Let me shut my phone off.
All right. 5,
Wait,
4,
what?
3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to another episode of All Access. Today we will be discussing some Rowan winter sports news, both track seasons starting to get underway. We also have some national sports news, and we have our fantasy football segment, must starts, must sits for week 14. Fantasy playoffs are coming up, so you definitely want to stay tuned for that. All that and more on All Access. Welcome back to All Access, live from Bozarth Hall. We are here to update you on the most relevant stories in sports today. I'm Nick Rizzo.
And I'm Aiden Doherty, and as always, a great show. And first, we want to give a shout out to our producer in the back. Last show, Connor Bond. Just want to give him a quick shout out. It wouldn't be possible without him. And after that, we'll talk about some sports, and Rowan Sports obviously underway winter-wise, and pro sports. LeBron James going for ring number 5. Is that what we're going to call it, in-season tournament?
I don't know. The Lakers said that they won't be hanging a banner if they win, which is kind of surprising. You know, the Lakers, they love the spotlight.
I would have thrown a parade personally.
Oh, yeah, me too. A little Christmas parade for winning the in-season tournament. But without further ado, let's jump into some Rowan Sports. Rowan men's basketball has responded to 2 straight losses with 2 straight wins, as they most recently took down conference foe Rutgers Camden 80-57 on Wednesday. Khalif Mears has been on an absolute tear lately, and he didn't stop in this one, scoring a season-high 28 points. As we know, though, the transfer student feels he makes his money on the defensive end, and he certainly has a case for that. The nation's leader in steals tallied 7 more swipes against the Scarlet Raptors. And the double-double machine, Jazir Knoll, recorded his 9th of the season with 18 points and 10 boards. Marcellus Ross also scored 18 of his own. And we know how explosive the Profs' offense looked last season, and the eye test tells us no different this year. On Saturday, the Profs will travel to Ramapo to face the Roadrunners, who currently sit atop the mountain at first place in the NJAC standings. And as Ric Flair famously said, to be the man, you have to beat the man. So we'll see how much noise Eric Brennan's team can make against the top dog in the conference.
And Rowan women's basketball is also up and going off 2 straight wins, and they continue to dominate. First one on the road at William Patterson this week. They won 66-58. Rowan shut the Pioneers down in the second half and held them to 20 points. Ileana Santana led the way offensively with 15 points, and 3 other players were in double figures. And one of those players, Kate Hurley, followed it up the next game with 22 points against Rutgers Camden. Rowan dominated as a team in that game, winning 81-52. The team improved to 6-3 with a 3-1 NJAC conference record. They have won 4 in a row and 6 of the last 7 after losing the first 2 games of the season. Watch out, because the Lady Profs are, as Mark Jones says, hotter than fish grease right now.
Both Rowan track teams kicked off their seasons in the fast track opener on Friday, December 1st, and both found notable success. For the men, Marquise Young stole the show. The senior started his farewell season strong with a number 2 NCAA time in the 60-meter hurdles, and he was also the leadoff leg in the winning 4x400 relay team that tallied a number 3 NCAA time. Deservedly, these performances earned him men's NJAC Runner of the Week honors. Now, Nevaeh Lord-Juice must have saw these numbers and said, "Hold my coffee," because she turned in a PR and a top time in the nation in the 400-meter race, and was also part of the 4x400 team that captured the number 1 time in the nation so far this season. Lord-Juice was also crowned Women's NJAC Runner of the Week for this spectacular performance, and we'll see if the Profs can run towards more success at the St. Thomas Aquinas Invitational on January 12th.
And from the track to the water, the Rowan swim season has been underway, and both the men's and women's team have started 1-2 in 3 meets. They both beat Stevens to start the season. Men's won that meet 170-92, and the women's team won 157-105. Both teams then dropped their meets to NYU and Salisbury. Following that, both teams participated in the Franklin and Marshall Invitational in Lancaster, PA, and you might get some deja vu because they also both placed third. Women placed third out of 11 teams, while the men placed third out of 8 teams. The sophomore standout for the women's team, Ella Pennington, dominated and won the 100 back, 200 back, while also being second in the 100 fly. That was enough to name her NJAC Swimmer of the Week. Both teams haven't been in a meet since November 19th, but both return to action at Montclair State today at 4 p.m. in Montclair, New Jersey. And Rowan Sports underway. You know, this is the first time we talked about track and swim.
Yep.
Hope they got a big meet today. It's some time off, like I mentioned, but hey, man, I believe you were there for the men's game with Khalif Mears. He's putting on. I mean, I called him the John Moran of Glassboro, I think, last time. And, I mean, he followed it up with back-to-back 20-plus point games and 5 steals. But on that note, now let's throw it over to our national sports news anchor, Justin Locke.
Thanks, Aiden. My name is Justin Locke, providing you with the national news topics here in sports. The NBA in-season tournament championship matchup is now set, with the Indiana Pacers taking on the Los Angeles Lakers in Las Vegas on Saturday night at 8:30 p.m. on ABC. Pacers took down the Boston Celtics 122-112 and the Milwaukee Bucks 128-119 in the first 2 matchups throughout the season. Stellar performances from Tyrese Halliburton, their point guard. He scored 53 points as well as 28 assists, dishing out with 0 turnovers over the 2 games. On the other side, the Lakers took down the Phoenix Suns in a close 106-103 finish that put and then a complete beatdown on the New Orleans Pelicans in a final score of 133-89. LeBron James last night put up 30 points, 8 assists, and 5 rebounds on 75% shooting from the field as well as 100% from beyond the arc. 22 minutes of action. Prize money for the winning teams, $500,000 per player, and an in-season tournament MVP will be handed out. Now swinging things over to the MLB. San Diego Padres superstar outfielder Juan Soto has been traded again for the second time in 17 months, this time to the Bronx and the New York Yankees. The 25-year-old will now share the outfield with 2022 AL MVP Aaron Judge. And again, it's been a lot of time with him getting traded around. Just got traded from the Nationals to the Padres just 17 months ago. Yankees in this trade with the Padres also got in Trent Grisham and got away Michael King and Drew Thorpe, as well as 3 other players. They also traded for Boston Red Sox outfielder Alex Verdugo less than 24 hours prior to the Juan Soto trade. And the Yankees, after finishing with the 4th place in the American League East with an 82-80 record, are looking to bounce back, getting back to the World Series they have not since 2009. And Garrett Cole won the AL Cy Young this past year for the first time. So the future is looking bright for the Bronx, especially now with Juan Soto and Aaron Judge leading the way. And now to end it off, we've got to talk about the college football playoffs, with the top 4 seeds being announced last Sunday. Michigan, Washington, Texas, and Alabama being the 4 teams that were selected by the 2023 College Football Playoff Committee. And there was a lot of uproar, to say the least. Undefeated Florida State was not selected and was ranked as the 5th team, even though they won their respective conference championship, even without their starting quarterback in Jordan Travis. Travis suffered a season-ending left leg injury back on November 18th, but the team still won their last 2 games, including the final game against Louisville to win the ACC championship. College football fans were outraged, utterly shocked by this news, especially due to a 1-loss Alabama team that wasn't even favored in the SEC. Obviously, they did beat the Georgia Bulldogs, but the Florida State became the first unbeaten Power 5 team now, conference champion, to never make it into the playoff in the college football playoff history. That was your national sports news. I'm Justin Locke, now sending it over to Sam Prince.
Thanks, Justin. What's up, everyone? My name's Sam Prince. Now, it's time to talk some fantasy football playoffs. If you got a team going in, borderline fantasy football playoffs are next week. For me personally, I'm at a borderline bye. Let's get your picks. We got some must-starts players for next week. This is Prince's picks. My first Prince's pick, my must-start is Brandon Cooks. The last 3 out of 4 weeks, he's got over 15 fantasy points. Ride the hot wave with Cooks on Sunday night against the Eagles. The second must-start is the Denver Broncos defense. Yes, a defense is a must-start. The Broncos are playing the Los Angeles Chargers offense. The same Chargers offense who scored 6 points against one of the worst defenses in the league against the New England Patriots last week. And since coming off the bye, they've averaged 10.5 fantasy points. And my last must-start is, if you need to pick up a quarterback in your waiver wire, third final must-start is Gardner Minshew. Believe in Minshew mania. Coming off the bye, Minshew has averaged 15 points per game, and the Colts are playing the Bengals on Sunday, and the Bengals give up 388.2 yards per game. Minshew mania will be back. Get your headbands out. Put your sunglasses on. That's all I have for you this week. Hope everyone has a happy Hanukkah and Merry Christmas. Good luck in your fantasy football matchup. Stay tuned for more All Access after the short break.
Oh, look, a redhead. Staring contest. You still got it.
I know.
Come alive with the forest.
The dad was cute.
You were looking right at us.
Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
Honey, what I think you need is a socket wrench.
I played JV basketball.
I'm sorry. I don't think it looks right.
This is good, and it's all
Is
good,
it,
baby.
Is it really all good?
If you love me enough to routinely test your handyman skills, not to mention the strength of your marriage, then of course you'll visit nhtsa.gov/therightseat to make sure I'm in the right car seat.
I'm gonna call my dad.
Looking for these? You drive Buzzed. It could be one very expensive ride.
First, you gotta make bail. Then pay me to get your car back.
Your insurance premiums will go through the roof.
And my legal fees just keep adding up. All told, it could end up costing you $10,000.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Which planet are we living on? Right here.
What do you think it would be like to teach? Chances are, you have no idea. Teachers today are breaking down obstacles, finding innovative ways to instill old lessons, proving that greatness can be found in everyday places, and that you don't need to be famous to be unforgettable. That's what it's like to teach.
Hello, my name is Gabriel Furman. Today, we have our All Access segment, the Banner segment. I'm joined today by Connor McAndrew and Aaron Hook. And we actually played rock, paper, scissors before this to see who gets to talk first. And the winner of that battle was Mr. Connor McAndrew here. So for the first question of the day, boys, do we think the 49ers are going to be unbeatable this year? And after the Eagles' loss, do we think the Eagles are their playoff success last season was delegitimized in a way? And do we think that their season so far is going to be delegitimized this year because of their loss to the 49ers? McAndrew.
Now, Gabe, to be honest here, with the Niners coming off a huge win against the Eagles, I will say that they had a really good matchup in that game, but at the same time they got the Seahawks for the second time, and what I like to say is it's really hard to beat the second team twice. This time they're playing the Seahawks again, and we'll see what happens this week. Could see the Seahawks because they had a really good matchup against the Cowboys last week, with a 41-35 victory by the Cowboys. But it was close all game long, and I feel like the Seahawks can put up a similar performance if they're up to par with that Cowboys game.
Okay. But what do you think about the Eagles this season? You think that after that loss, they kind of derailed themselves?
I think it just comes down to, you don't just take that one game, you just move on from it because they're still the 1 seed. They're still the number 1 team in the NFL record-wise. And at the same time, you have the Cowboys this week. This is pretty much game of the year for the Eagles. This is do or die. This is where the MVP talk is really going to start heating up. Dak Prescott being number 1 right now, Hurts being number 3. It's really going to come down to that game being where the Eagles stand after this week.
Okay, Aaron, what are your takes on what Mr. Connor McAndrew just said?
Yeah, I mean, I think, he's right. I mean, the Dallas game this week, I think, is going to tell us everything we really need to know about the Eagles team this year. That's been kind of the case all week. Obviously not good when a team like San Francisco, who actually comes in at full strength with their starting quarterback, unlike the NFC title game last year, comes into Philadelphia and kind of runs you out of the building like that. But, again, the Eagles have come back from bad moments in the past couple of seasons, and I'm confident that, they are going to go into Dallas, obviously a must-win game for a 10-2 team, right? It's kind of ironic to say that, but with the NFC and the NFC East on the line this Sunday, I expect, Nick Sirianni to have the guys fully prepared. So Sunday is really going to tell us, if the Eagles are, and their success in the past, I guess, has been delegitimized. I mean, again, there were some moving pieces in the offseason, and, you do sign Shaq Leonard this past week, but the defense just hasn't been up to snuff, as opposed to where it was last year. So, we'll see what this version of the Eagles really is. Again, I think everything will be told on Sunday in Dallas.
Yeah, so it seems like you guys pretty much agree. And we're going to move over to baseball, where this topic, I'm sure you guys will agree. And honestly, we weren't sure if we were going to talk about it, but it is big news. Guys, where do we think Shohei Otani is going to go? Aaron, as Connor got the first speak last time. I mean, we all agree, but
we do.
Where do you think he's going to go?
I think we've come to the consensus, and myself just thinking that, he's out there in Los Angeles already. He's a guy who doesn't like, or really doesn't, I don't think, want the media pressure of a major baseball town. So I think he's staying in LA. I think he's going to sign with the Los Angeles Dodgers and, go play in Chavez Ravine for the next, 12 years or so.
You just say, I just noticed you wouldn't argue that LA is a pretty big media market?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, a New York or a Philly across the country.
Okay,
I think he's comfortable where he is. The Dodgers obviously are a great baseball brand, historic team, historic franchise out there in LA. And so I think that would kind of be, the difference of the two for Otani. I think that would kind of be a perfect situation for him. He wouldn't have to pitch. He's not going to pitch this season, and he wouldn't have to. The Dodgers have a pretty good staff. And so I think LA, just staying there and moving across town makes a lot of sense for Shohei.
Okay, I understand. And what about you, Connor?
It's pretty funny, the fact that, you're going from one LA team to the other. One's winning, one's not. I feel like Otani is going to head in that direction. We also heard about talks about the Blue Jays, but I feel like that's all fluff in the end, because I don't feel like the Blue Jays have enough to offer, because they're looking to try and get rid of guys like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. off the table, and I feel like that's just unnecessary for him being still so young for that Blue Jays organization. I feel like it just makes too much sense for him just to flip sides and go to the Dodgers.
Yeah, and Shohei Otani's been a guy who historically, when the Yankees try to sign him after his Rookie of the Year season, doesn't like cold environments. So Toronto does not seem like the spot to be. But an interesting, because you guys also both agree once again on this topic, where do you guys think you'd best fit? Because maybe we have a little difference there. What do you think? What franchise do you think he'd best fit in?
That's a really good question. I think, when you look around the league, he could fit in a lot of places, honestly, because, again, he's a left-handed power bat. He's a guy that will give you 200 innings, close to 250 strikeouts in a full season on the mound. I do think the Dodgers do make a lot of sense, though, just because, again, you have the middle of your order pretty much figured out, right? You have 2 MVP candidates already there. Why not add a third to that, to that lineup and give Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts some more protection? And again, when he gets back to full strength with the elbow, we'll see how that progresses ultimately, if he ever is really a full-time starter again, because it's the second time he's hurt it. So, we'll see on that front, Gabe. But I think the Dodgers, just with the personnel they already have, I think Otani really just kind of fits like a glove there. And I think the fit is something he's obviously thinking about from a baseball perspective, because, like Connor said, he hasn't done much winning with the Angels so far in his career, and he's been in the majors 6 years already. So.
Yeah. What about you, Connor? You think there's any other franchise other than Dodgers that you think he'd fit better in, or do have a more important role?
Shohei Otani is a unicorn. He's a one of one. He's an amazing pitcher, amazing hitter. He's gonna be paid $600 million wherever he goes, and the fact that he's getting paid as both a pitcher and a batter is just unreal for the numbers he's getting. I feel like he fits anywhere, honestly. You're going to make an impact no matter what he provides on and off the field. Because outside of baseball, he's gonna get more fans in the games. He's gonna sell tickets very easily. He's the hottest player in baseball, and despite being injured for pitching, he still has the hitting, and it's just like he's like unstoppable, really.
Yeah, both very good points. But now we're gonna round up back to football, but college football, where it's been all the rave this weekend. As you know, college football playoff picks just came in. And a lot of people feel like a certain couple of colleges got snubbed as Alabama sneaked into that 4th spot. Connor, what do you think? Or do you think Alabama deserved it, or do you think colleges like FSU or Georgia deserve the spot?
This is when you think that the 14 playoff is not enough. The fact that you had so many issues with who's going to take that 4th spot, and then they threw Bama in just to fit the SEC. I feel like that's a huge issue, but it also helps TV reviews, I feel. And I feel like if they got to that 12-team playoff this year, you would see FSU, you would see Georgia, because Georgia's a one-loss team. They lost to Bama, but they beat everyone else. Now, frankly, they did have pretty much a cupcake schedule, but they did win all their games. FSU had the hardest schedule in FBS, and the fact that they didn't make it is blasphemy.
What are your thoughts? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I don't disagree with putting Alabama in over Florida State. There is the rule, or however you want to phrase it, that the committee goes by, that major injuries to star players can play a role in determining who gets in, and that obviously is unfortunately the case for Florida State. I think Alabama is the better team, so I think they deserve to be in, but I think Florida State, as an undefeated Power 5 champ, also deserves to be in. So I agree with Connor. I think going to the 12-team playoff next year is going to eliminate a lot of this kind of confusion and really the heartbreak, right, to give a ACC champion who went 13-0 to kind of cut them out of a chance for playing for a title. Next year, I think a lot of that will be alleviated.
Do you think it's fair that a lot of the rave on the internet, and you guys should just jump in here, is that they added Alabama for the TV ratings, for the money. What do you guys think of that? Do you think that's fair, or do you think it should have been a thing where, I don't know.
I think what helps next year is the fact that all these teams are moving out of their conferences and joining bigger power conferences. You got the Big Ten expanding, you got the Pac-12 leaving, and it's just adding a lot more competition for all these other schools to where the college football playoff is going to feel, I feel like, a lot stronger. And you'll start to see, what teams actually deserve the playoff, rather than, the teams that, they have a good record, but they won't show up in the playoffs.
Got it.
Yeah, I agree. College football is going to be nuts next year.
Yeah. Well, that was All Access, and that was the banner segment. This was me, Gabriel Furman, as the moderator, Connor McAndrew, and Aaron Hook. Please remember to scan the QR code to see who you guys feel won the debate today. This was the banner segment of All Access, and our final show of this semester. It was a pleasure talking to you all today, and for this whole semester, it's been an absolute pleasure.